Okay, good morning, everybody. This is 11 o'clock sharp. And I think this, if we speak about the Intelligent Cities Challenge, we should start on time. It's also the, let me be from the morning a little bit provocative, because as a former mayor, it was very interesting for me in all the different ideas of intelligent cities. I always think about the opposite side. I mean, intelligent. What is the other side of the coin? Is it the non-intelligent cities or something like this, or maybe we speak about intelligent cities or intelligent local authorities in the cities? No, but I think this is just a joke. But thank you very much for participating. The number of participants is still growing. We have the registration about 200 people. Now it's growing, so I think it's very well. So today our meeting of the Urban Intergroup, and I would like to welcome you on behalf of the colleagues from the Urban Intergroup, is mainly concentrated on the initiative Intelligent City Challenge, and I think that this is I think important to first to understand what is the idea of the whole project, and next to see some of the concrete examples how it's realized. And of course we will have some time for the debate about the concept of intelligent cities and what we can do with this, especially during the coronavirus pandemic period. And I think that for all of us, something which seemed some months ago quite politically general or very symbolic, like digital revolution, I mean the broadband, etc. I remember for many years in the parliament we were discussing, okay, it's good for future, it's important for future, etc. Now we have reality. Now we have a completely new situation. The digital world became a part of our real life, and of course this is the have you noticed that when we speak about the remote, it's something normal, and we can say, okay, maybe one day we will meet physically. I mean, physical presence becomes extraordinary, and the digital became normal. The question is, what will be the new normal? What will be the new normal in the future? What will be the way of functioning of the cities in the future? What it really means, intelligence facing the completely new situation. And I think that for all of us, I think that inside the parliament, now of course we are discussing what about the future of the parliamentary work of the parliament in coming years. What about the digital consequences, or in general, new technology influence on our functioning? This is very interesting, and the changes are very dynamic. I can give you a very short and simple example. When we started some months ago, for example, voting in the European Parliament, the system of voting today is much more sophisticated than 5 months ago. This is completely different. So this is how it works very quickly. So I think that especially the idea of this kind of intelligent city initiative, which was proposed by DG Grow, was extremely important and became the reality. When we look at the national recovery plans, which are now under discussion, and a very clear requirement, at least 20% for digital, at least, but not to build new broadband infrastructure, but to really make the change. It's like in my country, in Poland, the local government, they are discussing this is not just to buy the new computers integrate, but to change the way of working, So I think this is very important, very interesting. So let me first of all welcome all of you very warmly. And the first part of our meeting is the presentation of the Intelligent City Challenge. Next, we will have some debate, so everybody could have the chance to speak. So let me start with giving the floor to Madam Valentina Superti, the director of the DG Internal Markets. This is about tourism and proximity. The DG for Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship, and SMEs. Madam Valentina Superti, the floor is yours, and you have more or less 15 minutes. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good. You know, we are getting used, but still there are machines. And so there is this feeling that you're talking to a machine. Good morning, but no, I see very, you know, a lot of, you know, a lot of smiling faces, which is nice. Good morning to all of you, and thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss and to present this initiative from DG Grow. I am actually following up on this initiative, as I have been very recently appointed. So I was director before in DG Grow, but I have now new responsibilities, and I am thrilled by these new responsibilities, including by the specific fact that that, you know, we go local, we go close to citizens. So I particularly hope that we will be able, including with this initiative, to reach out as much as possible. Now, as you said, as you just said, rightly so, the pandemic has put us in a horrible scenario. It's very tough. It's difficult. At the same time, we all know that crises are accelerators of trends. So, for example, the digital element that you mentioned is clearly an example of that. And thinking in particular of cities, I think that of all the business models, perhaps the city business model is one which has been more put into question by the current context. So you were mentioning the new normal. Yes, I think we perhaps what is at stake here is to think what is the new normal also for a city, and what is the city of the future. So at the end of the day, perhaps that is the discussion to have. I think so I have indeed, well, I have exhausted already 2 minutes, so I have 12 minutes, but there are slides which are supposed to be shown. I don't see them. But I hope that is being done, because I think it's useful yes, supporting the presentation. So we can move to the next one, and just a brief reminder of what is the context we are operating in the European Commission, and hopefully broader than that. In Europe. So the Commission has put the Green Deal at the heart of its political agenda. At the same time, you know, green and digital go hand in hand. You were mentioning the 30% of the national recovery plan to be devoted to digital. So it's 30 for digital, 37 for green, but I would say that the two things go together. And in terms of funding, as you know, the multi-annual financial framework as well foresees 30% for sustainability projects and 20% of digital. And if you put all things together, this is 1.8 trillion, which in terms of overall amount is quite unprecedented. So there is there is an opportunity there. And at the same time, in particular with regard to cities, of course, the local dimension and the inclusiveness dimension, I think, is important. I think yes. What I think it's useful to remind ourselves a couple of data. By the way, on 28th of April, the Commission will present an updated industrial strategy, which also will be touching, a lot about this twin transition. And our view in DigiGrow is that cities actually do matter also for industrial policy. And why is it so? Because on the one hand, cities overall in the world cover only 3% of the land. At the same time, they do produce 80% of GDP, but at the same time, they account for 80% of the energy consumption and around 70% of global greenhouse emissions. So these data, I think, show why it is so important to work with cities and with all of you. In terms of methodology, the industrial policy strategy will be based also on a number of ecosystems. So we call them industrial ecosystems. There are 14. And one of those ecosystems is the proximity and social economy ecosystem. And I think that within that ecosystem, cities do play a crucial role. And again, we have to work closely together, in particular to having the twin transition in mind. Now, coming more specifically to the intelligent, so we can move to the next slide, I think. Coming specifically to the intelligent cities challenge journey, this initiative is part indeed of a long journey meant to speed up again the digital and green transformation of SMEs and industry. And in terms of methodology, we want to co-create. Co-creation is a key to us. In terms of finding together with the stakeholders, meaning local authorities, businesses, knowledge institutes, but also civil society, to find together the way to move forward. The whole initiative started indeed with the digital challenge and the digital transformation challenge, and we launched a so-called blueprint for cities and regions as launchpads for this digital transformation. We did continue the first phase of this digital cities challenge. And what did we achieve? We hope we offered with that initial phase strategic advice to 40 cities helping them to develop strategies for smart growth and industrial modernization. The ingredient here, the main ingredient here in this phase was to have a strategic discussion. So at that point in time, the discussion was not, and there were no concrete operational outcomes, but it was more a discussion on the principles and on the strategy. And then building on that first phase, we launched the second phase, and I think this is the next slide. And the next phase is meant to help the cities to leverage cutting-edge technologies to lead again between. I'm boring, but that's a cross-cutting theme. The twin and the twin transition challenges, so the green and transitional challenge. In this phase, we have provided a clearer direction on industrial development that is environmentally sustainable, socially just, and knowledge intensive. So concretely, what are we doing here? We are offering one-to-one guidance and expert support, access to city networks, capacity building tools, and tech for good marketplace for efficient solutions, we hope, again, that can be used and replicated by other actors. We are focusing on 5, so this is what you see there, 5 thematic priorities. You see them, so I think we can go to the next slide. Because at the same time, we are also providing a wide range of transversal advisory services, like, for example, access and advice on access to finance, and advice on public procurement. By the way, we are responsible for public procurement in DG GROW, as you know, to help cities attract investments and benefit from the financial opportunities, in particular, those offered by the Next Generation EU and the Recovery and Resilience Facility, but also for other, let's say, more standard financing tools. And also we are providing advice on open data and urban data platforms to help and guide, again, hopefully, cities to share data in meaningful ways. At the same time, always we are mindful of protecting as much as possible citizens' digital rights. Now, the community, this is the next slide, it's very nice to see. I like this. It's, it gives the idea of what it is. So it's a community. It's 136 cities from 21 countries which are participating in these initiatives, mainly smaller, relatively, cities, which happen to be those where most of the EU citizens actually live. And out of those 136, 15 cities are mentors, and so they are highlighted there, and become, so the objective is that they are a sort of role models, so that these mentors can help and share their experience and their vision, so that other cities maybe helped in their transformation. There is also, it's not only EU only focused, as you can see. There are also 11 non-EU cities which are part of this initiative. Now, we are, and this is the next slide, we are also helped, because of course we do not know and we do not pretend to know it all. We are helped in this journey by an advisory board, which is composed by very important people that you see mentioned there on the slides, and important and expert people, especially. Experts on, in particular, I would want to highlight advanced technology and urban transformation. So they are advising us on the latest global urban trends, on technological and scientific developments, on potential high impact actions, and just to make some examples. Now, if we move to the next slide, you recall, I hope that I said that we have 5 main thematic strands. However, I would like to, for the purposes of today, and I hope this is useful for you, to concentrate briefly on 4 main deliverables. So the first one is the local Green Deals. We can move, I think, to the next slide. And so what is the idea? The idea is to guide cities to pioneer local Green Deals, to deliver on the EU Green Deal in practice, so that the local economy is directed, again, in practice, towards a sustainable pathway, at the same time creating jobs, which you know, it's a fundamental aspect. So concretely, what are we doing? Because that is perhaps the most interesting for you. So we are developing, by the end of April, a local Green Deal blueprint to help cities. And this blueprint is based on best practices and a set of core suggested principles. Secondly, we are organizing, together with the Committee of the Regions, a mayor's event on local Green Deals to boost political leadership. This is foreseen for June 2021, so in a couple of months. And thirdly, we are working to step up capacity building amongst cities and create a European local Green Deal platform. What is the objective here is achieve peer learning and cooperation as much as possible. We can move, I think, to the next slide. And there is clearly an urgent need for quick cross-sectoral mobility of the workforce from lost jobs to emerging jobs, so green jobs, so to speak, healthcare, but also health jobs. So you may be aware of this, and you certainly are aware that the Commission launched a Pact for Skills some time ago as a shared engagement model for skills development in Europe. And cities, again, should be part of this reskilling or this more general reskilling effort, because cities do combine a very good insight of the local needs But at the same time, cities can put in place a well-functioning local reskilling network involving local companies, local authorities, trade unions, etc., etc. For your information, we are very active in DigiGrow on this pact for skill in certain ecosystems. More particular, I am aware because I'm working on that, for example, in the tourism ecosystem, but also in textile. And so this is, I think, an extreme. And by the way, Commissioner Breton is directly involved with Commissioner Schmidt on this work, which is very, very important for us. Now, on skills, if we go to the next slide, again, I would like to mention some deliverables. So we will develop, yes, this is here mentioned. So we will develop by April, so tomorrow basically, a cities guide for reskilling with success stories and learning experiences to build upon, hopefully. Secondly, we are creating a network of cities of excellence for reskilling to bring state-of-the-art know-how on global trends, recovery strategies, and boost the collaboration and coordinated investments. Thirdly, we are mobilizing all interested cities who are part of the initiative to join the Pact for Skills together with their stakeholders, and the objective would be to take concrete commitments. Now, let me move to a second important strand, which is the renovation wave and the new European Bauhaus. So they support the initiative, the intelligent initiative challenge offers to cities, will also contribute meaningfully to the renovation wave. You may have heard again of that. It was one of the first, I think it was the first initiative in the framework of the Green Deal from the European Commission. So a renovation wave, affordable housing initiative, but also the new European Bauhaus. You know that the renovation wave starts from the reality that, so from the acknowledgement of the reality that buildings generate 40% of overall emissions in the world. And so the objective is to renovate. The target we have is 35 million buildings by 2030, with the objective, of course, to reduce emission and optimize energy use. And within the renovation wave, the Affordable Housing Initiative will pilot the renovation of 100 social and affordable housing districts using innovative, smart, and sustainable technology. So there is a social dimension, which is, I think, very, very, very important. The new European Bauhaus brings, as you know, you may have heard of this again, the European Green Deal closer to people, hopefully closer to people, and combines, so the idea is to combine sustainability, aesthetics, and inclusion. So to square the circle between these objectives. And again, the role of the cities and more generally, perhaps of the proximity economy are, we believe, at the center of these efforts. Now, a couple of things more. The tech for good marketplaces, I think the next slide. So we seek to create a digital marketplace for innovative technology-powered business models and services designed to advance the economic, again, the objectives are the same, economic, social, and environmental causes. In particular, the tech for good, you see that here mentioned in the slide, is meant to provide a single and trustful platform that will boost access to ethical, labeled, efficient solutions that are human-centered, affordable, and should, in our view, help solving concrete challenges of the proximity and social economy ecosystem. And these are platforms that are very often developed or deployed by local entrepreneurs, and these should be then creating new business opportunities. So let me conclude, because I think I have perhaps been already long. I hope I kept your attention. Let me conclude. I hope, and we hope, that this initiative does help to create a community. So this is the European spirit, community of European cities, with the ambition to press ahead what are the challenges of the future. So the green and digital challenge, the green and digital recovery, at the same time improving resilience. This initiative helps cities to join up individual policies into an alliance so by working together, hopefully this will help them, cities, to build back better and create new opportunities. I would stop it here, and I hope you know, this has provided you with some useful insights, but I'm very forward looking to hear from you, because feedback is of the essence, and then of course happy to have a discussion. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you, Madam Director. I didn't interrupt you because it was interesting. So even if it was a little bit more than we predicted, but now we have three examples from this Intelligent City initiative, and I propose the mayors or the representatives of the cities about 10 minutes each. If you don't mind, it would be good for us to have the time to do questions and to debate. First, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mohamed Ridouani, the mayor of Leuven. Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, noon, everyone. I am Mohamed Ridouani. I'm the mayor of the city of Leuven, based in Belgium. So as a short introduction, I recognize a lot of what has been said by the previous speaker. Leuven is a knowledge city with a big and renowned university, a lot of young people. 1 out of 3 inhabitants is in fact either a student or a researcher, so very dynamic. We have 171 nationalities, and because the university has been here for 600 years, I mean, there has been some innovation coming from Leuven. Now, what we have done to tackle our challenges, being it climate change, fighting poverty, providing affordable housing, fighting exclusion, etc., is that over the years we have come to we came to a new governance model. I will give you an example, which has been recognized on different occasions. So what we do in Leuven is we call it a radical and structural collaboration model. For example, when it comes to climate, we have built the organization which is called Leuven 2030, which is not a network organization, it's really a governance model, a horizontal coalition, where there is shared decision-making between city, knowledge institutions, corporations, entrepreneurs, semi-public institutions like public transport, and citizens and NGOs. They each have 20% of the votes. Everyone can come in the General Assembly, be elected in the board. And this Leuven 2030 coordinates the entire climate program of the city. So the city council has given away powers to this organization, is funding for half of it, this organization. And I must say that the results are incredible. It took us 1.5 years to build it, but since the last 5-6 years, it's going very fast. We have done a zero-sum analysis where we have looked at where do the emissions come from in our city. They come from traffic, and they come from buildings, which are being heated up by fossil fuel. So these are the two domains where we work very hard, next to waste management, next to greening of the city, water management, etc. And we said to this Leuven 2030, okay, come up with the ideas and let's implement. Over the years, we've done so many things. For example, we've implemented the mobility plan, which pushed out car traffic out of the city center. Difficult decisions, but because there was this community, this shared decision-making, there was big support. And in less than 3 years, not only the air became cleaner, of course, but the bike traffic went up by 40%. Not only elderly people, not only youngsters, and students, but all ages. So a big impact. Housing is important for us because 60% of emissions come from heating up of the buildings. So we invest hugely in renovation, installations of homes, also innovative approaches to heritage buildings, for example, social housing. And this is happening in a total collaboration. So at the end of the day, we do it as well for our economic agenda. We have one economic agenda with all the main actors. We do it in education to fight deprivation. So it has become really a way of acting and a culture in Leuven where we forge big ambitions, dreams together, and we go for it together in a very collaborative way. And in the meantime, it really has become a culture. Last year, we were awarded the Innovation Capital of Europe because of the results and because of the approach. And what I see is that not only you can use the creativity of your inhabitants and entrepreneurs and researchers and their knowledge, but it also creates a sense of belonging. For me as a mayor, that's key. In a period, especially now, where people feel lonely, they feel excluded, by taking them with you in these changes, by making sure they can contribute, you create a sense of community and of belonging. And for us, that is key. It speaks for itself that when it comes to, so we use social power, collaboration, but we're a knowledge city. So we use a lot of data. There is a lot of collection of data, smart city techniques. There is Tim is here, Tim Gilly, who is coordinating that. He can tell you more in the debate afterwards. So we try to have insight as much as possible. We measure a lot of things. Also the CO2 emissions, we measure it and we put it on the website so everyone can follow up. So this is for us very important. So Mr. Chairman, I think that's my main message from Leuven. We believe that we should collaborate also beyond borders, and we should put people together. This is what we're good at, collaborate to make the things better. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that this notion of the link between the intelligent smart cities technology and the sense of belonging, I think this is something which is not very often underlined, but I think the sense of belonging is what makes this city intelligent. I think this is like this is the way of working. I would like to give now the floor to Hakim Oral, the Deputy Mayor of Lille and Delegate Councillor of Lille Métropole. Bon, c'est à vous. It's up to now. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Do you hear me? Yes. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot to DG Grow and Global Parliament to have invited me to speak about Clean Metropole experience. Clean Metropole is a metropolitan authority of 4th city in France with a population of 1.2 million inhabitants. We gather 95 municipalities and manage most public networks and services, public transport, roads, water, energy, waste. And as a coordinating body and for money policies, climate and energy plan, equality, housing, and town planning. The metropole was once a major industry city dedicated mainly to textile, which couldn't cope with globalization and collapse in 3 decades, shedding 180,000 jobs and leaving lots employed in poverty. This long decline also left behind hundreds of brownfield in the city, which was mainly built around these factories in the 19th century. But the metropole is a resilient city. Its code says opportunities such as the construction of a high-speed link between Paris, Brussels, and London, thanks to Mayor Pierre Mauroy, who strives to attract this railway hub. Lille finds itself is a very central position in Northwest Europe, on way for 3 big European capital cities, supported by the new TGV station in Europe, what is the first business district, Euralille, which has become 20 years later one of the most important in France outside Paris region. Is a real urban development renewal which has spread all over even metropolises. The metropole could well rely on the values of this population with creativity, innovative mind, solidarity, and conviviality has helped paving new ways. Its designation as European Capital of Culture 2004 initiated a new and lasting momentum. With new places for an alternative culture, major participative and festive cultural seasons every 3 years, and solid creative industries cluster dedicated to fashion, design, and image. Innovation has been boosted by Lille Metropole with the creation of 8 thematic science and technological parks. Most of them built in our new eco-district, combining an incubator, accelerator, business center, research and technology platforms, and a dedicated team to coordinate and promote the cluster. 4 of them are dedicated to digital technology and services, Eura Technologie, Blanche-Maille, Plein Image, and Agrotech. More recently, thanks to a law which has strengthened to competence of metropolises like energy, climate change adaptation, and mitigation housing policies, the metropole is now in charge of all the sustainable and integrated urban development policies. Excuse me. In Lille Metropole, we strongly believe in user-centric design methodology as a driver for economy, social, and green transition. For several years, you have experimented design-led projects in many public policy areas. Our application for World Design Capital 2022 title is based to scaling up such experiments in all sectors, all policies domain, and with all types of stakeholders which contribute to make the city more sustainable. Was once awarded the title in 2017, we launched a large call for project called POC for Proof and Concept, demonstrating the interesting of using design methodologies. By the end of 2019, we have received more than 600 POC and DICE developed with a designer and a multidisciplinary team, society, end users or citizens in each step of the design process. Some POCs we also taking part in the digital transition, particularly for contributing to a more collaborative city, promoting first-class and digital platform and apps to facilitate collaboration between citizens or citizen participation to sustainable initiatives. Many local entities, companies, universities, public administration, even mental health hospitals have been strongly marked by design momentum. We want contributing to the new reopened house should constitute the natural extension of your world design capital experience. New cities brand vision and strategy. In order to tackle the challenge of the digital development, the Metropole is knowing its digital strategy. The first pillar of this strategy is making Lille Metropole a territory of technological innovation. Our objective is to develop a state of mind that encourages the security actor to act, create, integrate, innovate, and share. The metropolises will establish an innovation and experimentation program for the territory actors based on the provision of tools and resources, data, engineering, financing. It's also within this framework that acts of mutualization with the communes and hegemonic support will be solved whenever possible, both the acquisition and the development of the services. This dynamic will be supported by strenuous territories connectivity policies with the development of infrastructures, the implementation of optical fiber interconnections, and the deployment of public Wi-Fi and shared architecture. This second axis of our strategy will be enhance Lille Metropole's economic performance. The first step is to develop the digital ecosystem with relationships between these players to promote innovation and attractiveness of the territory. For this, we will rely on your seats of excellence that I mentioned previously, and dynamic French tech ecosystem and our academic and research actors. We are also opening this being European Digital Innovation Hub from the IDH program. In addition, we will ensure that the digital training of match the needs of the company of the territory. It's crucial for us to train, acquire, and retain all the talents needed for digital transition of metropolis. The last pillar of this strategy is to improve to digital trust among citizens, since technological ambition should not be at the expense of citizens. The metropolis is responsible of developing a framework of trust with its users. As such, it must ensure a guarantee that all metropolitans are equal facing digital technology. Understand that issue, master the issues, have access to benefits from the digital transformation. As you know, cybersecurity is becoming critical issue, and Lille Metropole is willing to extend its responsibility concerning the security of its citizens to the digital space. We are building a cyber campus where public institutions, enterprise, and academics will meet and invent the cybersecurity for the territory and the small businesses. Our responsibility is also towards an ethical and ecological usage of digital technologies. All new application will provide transparency and collection and processes of data, especially when using artificial intelligence. Sovereignty will be looked up for through reduction of energy consumption and less redundancy of tools. The environmental impact of digital project will be addressed, and the city will be a partner in the European Green Deal IT program to work towards a climate neutral metropolis. The experience and expectation of Lille for his participation in the Intelligent City Challenge for two things. This Europe-oriented approach is the reason why we have applied last year to the Intelligent City Challenge. The Metropole is actively seeking inspiration, partnership, opportunities for the European initiatives. We are members of your cities, YSA, living in Europe, and signatories of Gen Boost and Sustain Declaration and the Green City Accord, and in the framework of its application to ECC, Lille Metropole expects support and feedback to develop a holistic and transversal approach for rethinking our digital strategy in the way I just described to you, facing contemporary urban challenge through digital innovation for requests on 4 thematics: citizen participation, e-administration, energy, cybersecurity, accelerating the digital transition of metropolis thanks to operability dynamics and operative governance. So far, Lille Metropole has come a long way in identifying the needs, issues, and barriers on ecosystem in each thematic. Thanks to the organization of thematic workshop, which allowed a variety after to exchange of these topics. For beginning of the second phase of program promise, new challenge for Lille Metropole, particularly in the elaboration of a concrete solution strategy. I thank you again your invitation and your listening.
Okay, thank you very much. The voice was not very clear, but I hope that you understood and I didn't want to interrupt you. But and the last example, if you, by the way, if you want to take the floor during the debate or the question to the speakers, you can use the chat. And now the Piero Pellizzaro, the Chief Resilience Officer and Sharing Cities City Led from Milan. Yes, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this interesting conversation. And we've become part of the Intelligent City Challenge over the last few months, well, it was almost a year ago, if I well remember. And through the time, I remember when we started the pandemic, and before the pandemic, there was a big conversation how we should improve, how we should take the Green Deal was a conversation at the time, how we have to invest on climate change and how climate change related topic technology required also investment on digital technology. And there was a concept how to move from smart to a resilient cities, how we become a more livable cities. There was a frame that it was set already before the pandemic. When it comes to the pandemic and the COVID-19, all these elements become even more important for us, at least for two reasons. One, as Milan, we are living in one of the most polluted areas of the Europe. And then when a population is already exposed to a health risk because of the air pollution, it's pretty clear that could have a major impact when a virus comes and hits the health and the respiratory disease. So nowadays, working on prevention and precautionary measures to reduce the air pollution and then to mitigate impact of climate change is becoming not anymore an option. It's a mandatory even not for the climate itself, but for the health of our community. So all our programs in terms of climate change were speed up and scaling after the first lockdown and the first phase, because we are still in the sort of lockdown, let's say, in the similar one that was the year before, a year ago. And so all the different elements we have, we were working, whereas the urban forest program, was the pavement program, was all the increase of the bike lanes, becomes an opportunity to guarantee to our community after the lockdown and even in the near future, more public space, more alternative to the use of cars, and also to the public transportation somehow, because we have reduced capacity and we speed up all this process. But at the same time, we also realized that what we were doing in terms of digital agenda of the city become even more important, because in a vision of a 15-minute city, that what we are now looking at the other cities, Paris, or other city around Europe and around the globe, there is one option: how we, if the cities are not coming to the city council or to the city office, how we can take our services close to the citizen. And so we speed up the process, and nowadays 93% of our certificates, or what you normally go to the desk to take your certificate, like the birth certificate or death certificate, could be delivered through digital services, even in a news shop. So we take all our digital services as a measures to be more close to our community, but at the same time, also it's a environmental transition measures, this one, because this digital solution is also reduce the movement within the city, is reduce the congestion. So we couple the digital solution, the environmental solution, into a new vision of the city that is the you mentioned before the new normal. I don't know if it will be a new normal. I believe that we will have I think we don't need a new normal. We need to be clear and strong in taking the action that was already thinking before, as climate change, as a digital transition, and improve and increase the equity among the community. So all these elements were part of the adaptation strategy of the city after the first lockdown, and now they are also part of the request that we will share with the national government for the next generation EU. And within the next generation EU, our two main, the two streamline, like say the REACT-EU and the Recovery Resilience Facility Fund. Within the REACT-EU, that is what should be the immediate reaction after the pandemic, so how we push on the economy, we have increased and we have requested funding to improve the bike lanes and sustainable transport. We have asked to funding to improve our circularity in the waste management system. So it's not how we should organize the waste management, because we are one of the leading cities. We almost reached 68% over, as I'm going to say, cities over 1 million. We almost reached 68% of the door-to-door separate waste and recycling waste. So we reach almost 70% of organic waste collected by the house. But it's how we can take in these materials and what was called before waste and now become a second-hand materials, and then reuse it within the economy, the local economy. How, based on the know-how we have in the city as capital of the design, as capital of the fashion, and then it's where we can make the difference also, because we have 200,000 students, 11 universities, and 1/3 of Italian startup based here in Milan. And then if we are capable to link the digital and the social capital and the know-how we have with the natural resources in place, that is always be compliant with one of the requests of the next generation program, that is to not be harmful for the future of the generation. It is a new principle that we're really looking forward and really like it, how we should be respectful. But at the same time, in the RRF, so the Recovery Resilience Facility Fund, there we also have started thinking how we can have a new vision of the city, how the city should change, starting from maybe how we can change our way of connecting dots in the city with a different way of mobility, where pedestrian, where bicycle, where maybe navigation will be part of the future of Milan. So how we can rethinking the view of Milan in a different approach. To do this, there is something that is necessary. We also, as always, the European Commission is highlighting, all this next generation should be not only an investment plan. Is required reform. Is required reform in terms of procurement, in terms also maybe more flexibility on the financial mechanism, and they require also a major role, in our opinion, to the city itself. The city should be more engaged directly in managing the funding of the resilience and the Recovery and Resilience Facility Fund, has to be also stronger in being part of the negotiation within the next program 2021-27 use of a structural fund. In some countries it's happened, in other countries not happened. And the role of the city is becoming more and more stronger, because in the meantime that the political arena is defining the vision, we are always at the head of every emergency, the economical, the climate, and the pandemic emergency, because we need to give an answer to our community in a daily basis situation. So for us, the integration of equity, digital transition, and digital and ecological transition are the three main pillars that we were already working before, and we want to work in the near future. And this is what we have really much appreciate also the support we got even during the last few months from the Intelligent City Challenge, but also is also how we get support from the different other sector of the European Commission with the BDTI, but at the same time with the structure, with the Green Deal and the other funding that makes available for cities, even with the structural fund over the last few months. So if we are capable to rethinking also the procurement process and the role of the cities in the next few months, I think we have the real challenge that we can make the difference in terms of making the digital ecological transition not only at a high level, but as we say also the director Superti before, more close to every single European citizen, because it's the institution now that has to be more closer to the power, to every citizen, and less the citizen looking for the institution. And since we can get all three and to rethinking and to grow our European feeling and the European dimension. So that is the contribution we want to share from Milan in this sense, because I think it's where we stand at the moment. It's a long journey, but we can make it all together. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think that this is what you said. This is the some elements of the rethinking the city. I mean, the new vision of the city. So we have from one side the European programs, European funds, but in general it needs the new way of thinking about the city in the coming years. And I think, thank you very much for what you have just mentioned about the very, very actual debate about the recovery and resilience facility, about the role of cities in the new generation in general, the acting role of cities while preparing but also implementing the funds. So whereas the recovery and resilience requires a lot of money for digital, but I think it requires a lot of money for digital. So the local and regional government should be absolutely included in decision-making process, not in the consultation. Consultation is different. I think this is about the an active part of the local government. Okay, now we go to the debate. I have the first, as you see, the first question, which is coming from Madam Carolina Dudkiewicz-Garcia to Madam Superti. Would the capacity building platform be available just for 136 cities taking part in the second phase, or would it be open for the others as well? Yes, the question to you, Madam Superti, the floor is yours.
Yes, I think there was, thank you for the question. I think the reply was given in the chat, that which, by the way, gives me the opportunity to introduce the team, because you know, this is teamwork in the commission. So to answer to the question, yes, it's open. So it's a yes, open. the team, allow me to just mention there are 3 wonderful ladies working on the Intelligent Cities Challenge together with me, and the head of unit is recently appointed. So that's also why I'm mentioning it's Anna Atanasopoulou, who is here with us. Then Dana, you know, probably she's been working a long time on this, Eleftariadou, and thirdly, Natalia. So these are the 3 key people, and yes for my answer.
Okay, and now I see that there are some remarks of coming. So I see that this will be open, but also the Per Elav Garmstad have several remarks. Can I ask you for taking the floor and to present your remarks? Per Elav Garmstad, please. Yes, or maybe it was just in the chat. Does anybody wants to take the floor on the? But before giving the floor to, you see in the chat the information which comes about the edition. There will be the third edition for new cities to enter the ICC. This is the question, because I have the question. Okay, what is because it was very clear with Mr. Piero Pellizzaro, what is the link with the recovery and resilience? I mean, this is the question to Madam, probably to Madam to Madam Superti, but maybe Piero Pellizzaro would react. Okay, the question: what about the initiative, Intelligent Cities, and the recovery and resilience, or recovery fund in general? Madam Superti, and maybe Piero Pellizzaro. Piero Pellizzaro, maybe.
But perhaps Piero, yes. By the way, I come from Milan. So nice to see you. So I'm very proud, and yeah, but perhaps you can, yeah, and then I can comment, of course.
So, welcome, Valentina. Ciao, Valentina. Well, you know, in the emergency environment, when emergency academia, they say, when an emergency comes, what is important is for sure what you implement when an emergency happens, but what is even more important, what you have done before the emergency. Before the emergency, that the digital transition, the ecological transition was a point, was an issue that we start taking and we start thinking. Now we got a huge opportunity, and the European Union, for the first time ever, decided to go for depths. It's something unbelievable for who, like myself, believe in the European. I'm feeling a European citizen. And where they put the money is pretty clear. The money said we need to move in the ecological transition, and technology is an important piece for improving the capacity of better planning, better programming, and better monitoring the solution. Also because we don't have 20 years, we have 5 years. And in 5 years, we all use the resources, the human and technological resources, to make all this investment here on the ground for our community. And if you go through all the documentation and the things, you pretty clear that this understanding that the use of artificial intelligence, improve the use of cloud, the data store, but also the improving of the sustainability of the same technology itself, because it's not only a matter to use the technology, but also we have to improve the sustainability of some of this technology. Be linking, because they have one benefit, essentially, that we become more closer to every single European citizen. So in the investment, the technology is not only applied for infrastructures like mobility, but we speak about school, we speak about health, we speak about culture. So also the investment we are working is on every newspaper, actually, so we can quote, is only one of the things we can quote. The new European library that we want to build in Milan as part of the recovery plan. It's a digital library, and then it's a cultural investment when you couple and get support from digital to move to a library to improve the education, to give more access to education. But that library is also an opportunity for us to rethinking a piece of the city that needs a urban regeneration process. So if you figure it all together, then it's when you can get a proper solution for the future, and hopefully to make also Madame Superti happy for Helsinki.
Okay, thank you. And I see that my colleague, former member of the parliament, the former minister for digital elements from Poland, Michał Boni, is with us. I don't know, Michał asked the question on the chat, but maybe Michał wants to take the floor. Michał, the floor is yours. Do you want to take the floor?
Yeah, thank you very much. There were many excellent presentations, and of course, I'm for those solutions. Yes, and I think that this twins as digital and climate could go together. But on the other hand, we know that we have some new sources as recovery and resilience funds and new perspective for financial solutions and sources in the European Union. But on the other hand, the pandemic make some digital solutions much more close to us. It was the digital acceleration. And on the other hand, I think that our eyes started to be more open for climate changes and climate challenges. But on the other hand, this is very destroyable, the COVID, destroyable for local, regional budgets, cities' budgets, yes? So this is a problem. In Eurobarometer, many representatives of local authorities said that probably in the perspective of 2021, there will be many, many problems with financing many activities and many measures. So how to support them, not only by European money, but opening the new possibilities for cities to finance those investments, measures, and activities. How do you think? I think that it should be done as a complementary tool at the national and local level. And you said, Jan, that it is very important to involve local authorities, to involve cities for these debates, not only as consultant partners, but as real actors and decision makers, because this is the only way in some countries to join properly the European funds and the national funds for real recovery and building the new future for cities.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know whether Valentina, where do you want to react about the question confirmed? Yes, please.
Yes, I can react, and thank you again for the question. Yes, so perhaps indeed, the green agenda was an agenda already before the pandemic. So it was already at that time, together with the digital one, the flagship. Well, of course, I work for the European Commission, and the president, when making her speech to the Parliament at the end of 2019, she clearly spelled out that was the priority. So that is one element. I think we can, I hope we can agree, and I think this conversation rather points to that, that the pandemic, instead of weakening this agenda, it is accelerating this agenda. So this agenda is becoming even more important than it was before. And this is again linked to the fact that in general, crises are an accelerator of trends. And by the way, this has led to the to the complete novelty. We should be reminding ourselves of the complete novelty of the next generation of funding, because not only there is the standard, so to speak, multi-annual financial framework, but we have the next generation EU with 750 billion, which are there, which, by the way, are financed in a completely innovative way through raising money in the market. So I think also, in terms of European, advancement, this is a great step forward. Again, this. So I insist on this point that both the next generation EU and the MFF, and knowing that the next generation EU is a top up, so it's a top up money, which will have to be devoted, if you sum up the green and the digital transitions, we are to 50% of that money. So there is, in other words, at the European level, an unprecedented amount of money which is there to boost the investments that we need for the future. Now, and of course, the cities, because this is what we are discussing today, are part of that picture. So cities should be indeed involved in this process and participate actively for reaching these objectives. That being said, I do understand what you are saying, and this is what we hear a lot. We hear every day that, of course, there are all these nice cities, if you wanted green and digital and things. Well, which are not only niceties because it is the future, but there is an imminent, of course, in the meantime, think of tourism, minus 70%. So we are, of course, in a difficult situation. So the people and businesses are in a difficult situation, and so I think Piero Pellizzaro mentioned it. So the Commission did give some flexibilities also for the short-term challenges to recover. For example, the REACT-EU facility is one example, but also, and here I come to your national point, the Commission granted extended possibilities to member states in the context of the state aid framework. So there is more possibility for member states to inject money into the economy, so also in cities, in order to at least minimize, let's say, the shocks of these unprecedented crisis. And also, okay, this is of course completely beyond my domain, but we all know that there are also flexibilities now on the growth and stability pact. So there are more possibilities than before, also for member states to inject money. This is not, this is, I think, now understood. It's not the moment to cut, it's the moment to spend. That's what I would say.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I just want to draw your attention that there are very interesting remarks which are now on the chat. But there's also the question coming from Carolina Dudkiewicz Garcia to Mr. Ridwani about the governance model of climate. I just read it. Could you elaborate about the election process to join this external council? Was it challenging to engage the society or the private sector? Mr. Ridwani, if you can just answer the question, please.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Ridwani. I had to leave for an urgent matter, but I am Tim Healy. I work for the city of Leuven, so I'll try to answer that question. So what we did in the Leuven 20 platform is to make sure that there is an equal part for every quadruple helix player, meaning citizens, government, business, and academics. So we have a rotating presidency, and the rotating presidency makes sure that everybody can have impact at an equal part. So we started out with 60 members. Now we are over 600 members. Was it difficult? Yes and no, because we use this system of absolute cooperation. It meant that everybody has ownership, but everybody also has impact, meaning that we make this roadmap together, meaning that a business can have impact on the way that we govern this tackling of the climate change. So this is a very important part of the whole system, that we really try to do it together. Meaning, if you want ownership, you got to give some impact also. So this is the way that we envisioned it. And is a way that we are noticing that is working really well, because some of the smaller partners in our ecosystem and in Leuven 2030, they can do things now that they could not have done alone. Yeah, but also the bigger partners also can learn and can see from our smaller partners. So, and this even translates into the governance. So we have a switching presidency between the quadruple helix players. I don't know if it's enough an answer on the question.
Yes, I don't see the reaction from the person who asked the question, from Karolina Dudkiewicz. I don't know. It's okay. The answer of the question.
I see in the chat. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a really great example, and I would be happy if you could share some more details, maybe in the chat, if you have something in English or some email address, because we would be definitely interested in getting a little bit more on some specifics. I'm really happy and I'm really grateful to Mr. Olbrycht for organizing these meetings and for the intervention. Sorry, I've got the little one in here. Ms. Superti was giving us before. I'm representing Pro Silesia Association. It's an association gathering different stakeholders, business, academia, and local authorities. And we are currently organizing a new project, which was basically what Ms. Superti was saying, Green Deal going local. We're gonna engage our policymakers, our local authorities within the Green Deal strategy, and try to make this European, the European level to go local when you're organizing a special academy for them, starting next month actually. And I'm really grateful for this great presentation beforehand, and I'm really interested also to see what's on the platform and to be maybe more engaged with this great initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and all the best to my region where I'm from. So very nice to hear from you. And I have the question from the Mihail Diakomialis. Do you think that these factors, which are just presented, the cost of environment well-being, these factors should be considered in the ICC projects? I understand that this is mainly the question to Madame Superti. How do you think it should be included or not? Or maybe the other six speakers, maybe they will. Do you have the ideas? It should be included or not? But Valentina Superti, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, but I'm not sure I understand the question. So perhaps the one asking it could explain.
Yes, Michał Diakomialis, please, the floor is yours.
You are muted.
Yes. Your microphone is closed. Your microphone is closed, Mr. Diakomialis. Still closed.
Okay, you can hear me now, I think.
Okay, now it's okay.
Okay, as I explained before, I'm just saying this question from the point of view of an academic research regarding GDP, which, as everyone should know, doesn't include matters like quality of life or well-being, such as pollution or climate change, etc. So what I mean here is that in the projects and the activities that cities may take towards the improvement of climate and improvement of our lives, if we should take into consideration these indexes that I just came up with from the literature regarding the environmental well-being, which is exhaustion of energy resources. That means these resources are not infinitive. So this is, for example, an index that if we use too many energy resources, that means that this is against the environment. Actually, the second also, which is exhaustion of mineral resources and loss of forest areas. All these are, let's say, the capital given given to us from the earth itself. So this is not unlimited, and we don't have the right to exhaust all these, let's say, resources that are given to us. And besides that is the CO2 emission, which is against the climate quality, and this is a product from the industry, heavy industry, and the countries that do not take into consideration the protection of the environment when they are, let's say, developing their heavy industries. And it's similar, the final one, which is microparticle emissions cost. So in my opinion, if all these factors could be measured by a group of cities, why not they cannot be measured by the countries themselves? And then they should be included into a new, let's say, index, which will not be plain GDP, which means only money and products, but to replace GDP with an index which will actually represent eudaimonia, as it's been talked and written by Aristotle. Eudaimonia is the Greek word for well-being, for being, let's say, happy, for having a quality of life. So this is just a question for not for the present, but maybe for the near future, I hope.
Maybe first I will give the floor to Piero Pellizzaro, who wanted to take the floor now. Piero, please, the floor is yours.
Well, answer to that question, I think was the question when the colleague was clearing. I think that's possible, and I think in one of the principles, and not harmful, that the use of the Recovery Resilience Facility Fund, it is currently going in this direction. How we can integrate in our measures, in our investment, all this kind of use, as you quoting what you were saying, like the cost of environmental, the exhaustion of energy resources, the exhaustion of mineral resources. And I think that all these elements are becoming part not only of, let's say, should become a part of GDP, but is already part of the measure of the investment of the recovery resilience somehow, but even more in the financial instrument. So the question, I think, is, yes, is possible, in my opinion. We are starting looking at this, how we include it. It's not easy because there is an integration of data, and digital is where it comes to help us to make this possible more than the others.
Thank you very much. May I add something to this? This cannot be limited to the cities, as it's obvious, okay? Whatever I pointed out means that it's even difficult sometimes to limit them in one country, because sometimes there are matters that affect a whole wide area, like Amazon or like big forest or rivers. So it's difficult to isolate them in a city, but it's very important if the cities come up with these indexes that they are affected by pollution or by not preserving the environment to the point that makes the people happy, or to the point that creates discomfort to the people or even illnesses. So thank you very much for the answer.
Before giving the floor to Valentina Superti, I might just give you the, I don't want to discourage you, because after almost 17 years in the parliament, it's happened to me after some years, each period, it was again always the same. Let's change the GDP. I mean, let's change the GDP into the other indicators, which will be which will show the reality in a different light. And of course, let's make it more complex, more close to reality, etc. What you just said, it always finishes with GDP. It's because the political world likes it very much because it's simple, and this is politically simple. It's not technical simple. It's politically simple, because GDP is a measure which doesn't require very nuances taken into account. So I agree with you that this should be absolutely more complex, but I think probably, or maybe the coronavirus will change the approach. Who knows? Valentina, please, the floor.
Well, you know, if I understand, you know, if you know what you are saying, I think is that there could be indicators other than GDP, which could be taken into account by cities to measure their performance, so to speak. Now, this is something that we are doing, by the way, in a number of ecosystems. So when, you know, when in DigiGrow, we are working with the industry, with the ecosystem, we are especially in the light of the green and digital transition, we need to be able to measure also what then that transition means in practice, which means in turn that we are setting out, we are actually working on indicators they are not strictly limited for GDP for that purpose, so that is perhaps more specific than what Mr. Olbrycht is saying, which is of course true on a meta level, but when you go into the ecosystems, into particular sectors, the indicators need to also, you know, refer to other relevant elements than the GDP. Now, whether this can be done now by the cities so because this is the discussion now, cities, whether this is you know, feasible in practice, I don't know. It is something that we would need to discuss, and if there is a demand, we can work on that. I don't know if it is something that could be easily put in place or not. I have a question mark. I note you know, the interest. And but it would be also interesting to know what the others, you know, what the others think about that, but ready to have a look if you know, if there is a demand for that.
Yes, it was a very diplomatic answer coming. It was. I understand it very well, because it's not that you. This is. I mean, the political world and the commission is working with the politicians. They have a very difficult situation. It's like when you see the remark on the chat, which is, I mean, no, I cannot be more agreed with the CJ Welsh about the fusion of concepts, green, sustainable, etc. Yes, absolutely right. But when I observe, you know, when I was teaching at the university, I was working on methodology and working on concepts, terminology, and what is behind the concept, etc. And this is absolutely true. But in the political practice, very often the terminology is used to present the political aspects and the goals. And I think that's why we should be very clear what we mean by that. not mixing terminology, but to explain what we need, because very often we simplify. And if we don't explain what we mean by that, everything is mixed. And of course, it sounds like jargon, and that we are just repeating all the time. But I absolutely agree with the remark that it should be clear what we mean. There is also interesting discussion on the chat about the Guimares plus Greener, involving what it is, with the link to the information about this. I just want you to read it. Okay, does anybody wants to take the floor now at this very moment, because we are now going closer and closer to the end of the meeting? Who wants to take the floor? I have only one question to Valentina Superti. How do you think the whole initiative, Intelligent Cities, what is the planning duration of the whole initiative? For how many years it's planned, or maybe next transformed into the mainstream or not? Because very often the initiatives, they are started as initiative and next they are mainstreamed. And how do you think, what is the perspective of this initiative? Yes, please, the floor is yours.
Indeed, you are right. This is a project. The beginning of this initiative is a project. I think that it remains true. However, the beauty of I think working in the institutions and in the European Commission is that we can make links. You see, so this is clearly, it is a project, but it's a project which links particularly well with our current policy objectives. So you know, from that point of view, I think I don't know if I can call it mainstream, so that is perhaps a different, you know, a step further, but still, I think to the extent that the initiative fits fully with the overall narrative and the overall policy objectives, it is certainly an extremely important one. We are certainly going to continue. I think the current timeline is we are committed now for 21 and 22, if I remember correctly. And certainly, I think that to the extent that we will be able, together with you, with all the cities, to you know, to the objectives that we had set for ourselves, I think that we certainly will continue it. But perhaps if I may give the floor on the particular you know, point, because there are also, you know, kind of budgetary, you know, all these you know, commitments, things. Perhaps Dana or Anna, you can give details on exactly where we are.
Yes, hello, good morning to everybody. Actually, what we can say is basically this project comes to an end at the end of next year, 2022. But the objective is actually behind this project is to create a community of cities. This was already said, and give us the opportunity to work with cities in the context of industrial policy and in a way that complements the numerous, I would say, other initiatives that we see also at European level that bring cities together. So we want to work in a horizontal way, not only with the cities to create this network and this community of cities, to work on the green deals, to work on upskilling and reskilling, to work on technologies for citizens, etc., but also to enable those cities to work together with the local businesses and the local entrepreneurs. And I think this is perhaps what distinguishes this particular initiative compared to other initiatives that bring cities together. That's one first element, I think, that one needs to keep in mind, and where we would like to continue building on it also in the future beyond 2022 as we go. And in parallel, as we are already in this phase this year and next year, what we are actively trying to do is to connect the work that we are doing with cities through this project with other ongoing initiatives with cities launched from other parts of the Commission and under other policy agendas, because these have to be interconnected. They have to speak to each other, because ultimately we're addressing ourselves to the same constituents, to the same stakeholders, and we need to come across in a way that is coherent and complementary. So this is what we're trying to do. We're very much encouraged by the first results, and we have to see indeed together with you and with the cities participating and with our colleagues across the Commission how best we can strengthen this community and how best also we can strengthen the role of cities in rebuilding after COVID, and also using the means that were very well explained by the speakers earlier in terms of policy development, in terms of capacity building, but also in terms of funding and mobilizing investment.
Okay, thank you. Any other remarks? If it's not the case, I think that I'm just looking at the chat, and yes, we have some remarks. Please look at it. There's very interesting remarks on the chat. Now we have the time of conclusions. I would like to ask Valentina, do you want to closing remark on? It's no need, so we will do. Do you want to add something? Or
I frankly think that my impression, my assessment of this conversation is that it was very useful and in a way self-explanatory. So I think all the ingredients are there to continue this experience. We are very happy to continue this experience with you. And I hope we'll be able together to move towards the city of the future. That's my objective.
Okay, so let me make some conclusion. I think what I started about the intelligent cities, I think it was, of course, it was a joke at the beginning. It was the intelligent local authorities, but in fact, this is the quality of governing, of the city. I mean, the managing the city. This is if the local authorities are intelligent enough in terms of knowledge, using the knowledge, complementarity, and what has been said during our debate is that this is not only about technology, even if technology is very important, like what we had from the representative of Lille Métropole, how important is the technology pole? I think but in fact, the question is, what about the complementarity of different actions? What about the integrated approach? What about the partnerships which are creating thanks to these elements? What about the long-term planning? And of course, what you said at the end, and of course, Anna said, this is the possibility of perspective working with business. This is also the question of managing the city. So that's why I think only with this very clear and very clever management of the city becomes intelligent. I mean, the city as a whole, because it means that the city as a community, but also as all the elements which are the part of the city. So I think that I would like to thank you for this initiative, for everything has been done. When I said to the mainstream, is exactly said this is the project is till the end of 2020. Thank you. That's it. No, I think the project is really interesting and should be transformed in something which is very, very useful in future. And at the end, I must say that I always repeat that I have a dream. I have a dream that inside the Commission, all the actions concerning the city will be coordinated. I mean, coordinated, not governed by, managed by one DG, but to have the holistic view of everything which is addressed to the cities. I think this is my dream. Maybe one day it will be not the competition or the concurrence between the different DGs, but if I see 5 commissioners working on cities, it means there's nobody is working on the commission on the cities. So I think that this is the time we have to have a kind of clear image of what we can do for the cities with the cities. I mean, with the local authorities, etc. So, but I would like to thank you very, very much. I would like to thank Valentina Suparti, but I would like to thank the representative of the three cities, Mr. Mohamed Ridouani from Leuven, Mr. Akim Oral from the Lille Metropole, and Piero Pellizzaro from Milan. So thank you very much. Have a good day. Keep safe and healthy.